Nkechi lost her parents young and came into this compound with nothing but her own two hands and a heart that never learned how to say no. Slowly, without anyone asking her to, she became the one everybody depended on. Everybody depended on.
Nkechi, can you help me carry this basin? My back is paining me today.
Of course, Mama. Let me help you.
Nkechi, lend me small money. I'll pay you back next week, I swear.
Okay, Uche. Just don't forget. I'm always tired these days, but if I don't help them, who will? If I don't fetch now, there will be no water when the rain stops. If I don't fetch now, there will be no water when the rain stops.
We will ask Nkechi for water after the rain stops.
For now, let's enjoy sleep.
Nkechi, my dear, is there any water left? We ran out.
Nkechi, please, I beg, share small for us too.
Come, there's enough for everyone. Food is ready. Come and eat, everybody. Please, when you're done, wash your plates before you go.
I'll do it later, Nkechi. I'm tired.
Nobody ever stays to help. Please, can someone help me? I'm not feeling well. I need money for medicine.
Is it not pregnancy? Why should we be the ones to help her?
Nobody has come to help me.
I heard you were unwell. I got you this. You didn't even have to ask.
Thank you.
I have learned my lesson. Not everyone who eats from your hand truly wishes you well.
You'd think at this point, Nkechi has learnt her lesson. After everything the compound put her through, the ingratitude, the mockery, the nights she suffered alone, you would expect her to guard her heart a little more carefully. But when a new family arrived, struggling to settle into an unfamiliar compound, it was Nkechi, once again, who stepped forward first. She helped them carry their belongings, showed them where the water tap ran, explained how the shared cooking fire worked. Kindness was not something she could simply switch off. It ran deeper than any lesson life had tried to teach her. And just like before, the compound welcomed her generosity without ever offering anything back. Neighbors began handing her their laundry again, asking her to run their errands, leaning on her for the small burdens of daily life. Nobody stopped to ask whether she had the strength left to carry it all. Nobody remembered how, not long ago, she had collapsed from exhaustion. The pattern simply repeated itself, quietly, the way old habits always do, and Nkechi, true to her nature, never once said no. Day after day, she gave everything she had left to give. She woke early, worked through the afternoon heat, and was still moving long after the sun went down. By evening, her shoulders ached, her feet swelled, and her eyes carried a heaviness that sleep alone could no longer fix. The compound she poured herself into, morning after morning, never once thought to ask if she needed rest or if she needed help herself, for once. Then, one ordinary afternoon, in the middle of yet another task, her body finally began to protest. A sudden wave of dizziness swept over her. The world tilted, just slightly, and she pressed a trembling hand to her forehead to steady herself. It passed quickly enough that she brushed it aside and kept working, but it was the first quiet warning of something far more serious building beneath the surface. That night, alone in the privacy of her small room, the fever finally arrived in full force. Her body burned. then shivered, then burned again. She lay there in the darkness, waiting for the discomfort to pass, waiting for someone, anyone, to notice she hadn't come out to help, for the first time in longer than she could remember. But no one knocked, no one checked. The compound simply carried on without her. Days passed, and instead of improving, her condition only grew worse. The fever refused to break. The strength in her limbs, once so reliable, began to fail her entirely. The same hands that had fetched water in the rain, that had cooked for a crowd of ungrateful neighbors, could now barely lift a cup to her own lips. What had once been quiet exhaustion had become something far more dangerous. She tried, more than once, to push herself up and carry on as she always had. It was, after all, the only way of living she had ever known. But her body would no longer cooperate. Her legs buckled beneath her. For the very first time in years, Nkechi needed someone else's help to simply stand, and she had absolutely no one to turn to. Summoning whatever strength remained, she dragged herself to Mama Chioma's door, her voice barely above a whisper as she begged for help getting to the hospital. Mama Chioma looked at her for a long moment. The same woman she had once shared water with in the rain shook her head slowly and quietly closed the door in her face. Next, she made her way to Brother Uche's room, the very man she had lent money to without a second thought, the man who had never once paid her back. He barely looked at her, mumbled something about being busy, and walked past her without turning around. The debt he owed her meant nothing in this moment. One by one, she knocked on every door in that compound. One by one, every single neighbor she had ever helped found a reason to turn away. Some avoided her eyes entirely. Others simply pretended not to hear her. The compound she had given everything to for years would not spare her even a 5-minute ride to the hospital. Sitting alone outside her room, weak, feverish, and utterly defeated, Nkechi finally understood something she had never let herself see before. If she wanted to survive this, she would have to save herself. No one was coming. No one had ever really been coming. It had always, quietly, been her carrying everyone else. So she stood, gathered what little strength remained in her body, and began to walk. Alone, unsteady, burning with fever under the afternoon sun, she made her way down the long, dusty road leading away from the compound, praying, with every painful step, that someone out there, somewhere, would be willing to help her. The road stretched on, blurring at the edges of her vision. Sweat mixed with the cold chills of fever running through her body. Her breathing grew shallow, her steps grew heavier, and still she pushed forward, one foot in front of the other, refusing to give up even as her body begged her to stop. And then, without warning, her body finally gave out completely. Nkechi collapsed onto the roadside, alone, with no compound neighbor, no familiar face, no one at all in sight to witness what had just happened to her. But the road, as empty as it seemed, was not entirely without hope. In the distance, a clean silver car came driving past, and just as it reached her, it suddenly slowed, then braked hard, tires screeching softly against the dust. A young man stepped out in alarm, his heart racing at what he saw. His name was Dozy, and he rushed to her side the very moment he spotted her lying motionless in the dirt, without a second's hesitation. Without stopping to ask questions, without expecting anything in return, Dozy carefully lifted her and helped her into the passenger seat of his car, offering the exact kindness that an entire compound full of people had refused to give her just hours earlier. He drove straight to the nearest hospital, his foot pressed firmly on the accelerator, urgency written across his face. The moment they arrived, he rushed her inside, calling loudly for help, refusing to leave her side for even a moment. Through the fear, through the uncertainty of those first tense hours, Dozy stayed. He sat quietly beside her hospital bed, watching over a complete stranger, waiting anxiously for any sign that she would be all right. In the days that followed, he kept coming back, bringing fruit, bringing flowers, bringing a warmth she hadn't felt directed at her in longer than she could remember. Slowly, carefully, something unexpected began to grow between them, rooted in the simple fact that, for once, someone was choosing to care for her. Once Nkechi had regained enough strength, Dozy gently invited her to meet his family, both of them a little nervous about what that meeting might bring, neither fully prepared for what was waiting on the other side of that door. His father, Chief Okoro, did not bother hiding his disapproval. To him, she was little more than a stranger from a struggling compound, certainly not the kind of woman he had always imagined standing beside his son. But Dozy refused to back down. Again and again he stood firmly in her defense, not only with his words, but through his actions, showing his father exactly the kind of woman Nkechi truly was. Humble, selfless, and stronger than anyone in that room could fully understand. Slowly, over time, Chief Okoro's resistance began to soften. He watched the quiet dignity she carried, even after everything life had put her through. He saw how genuinely, how deeply his son loved her. And little by little, something inside him began to shift. In time, Chief Okoro did what he never once thought he would do. He opened his arms and accepted her fully as his own. And the very compound that had once let her walk alone into the road, burning with fever and utterly abandoned, would go on to hear how completely Nkechi's life had changed, not by luck, not by chance, but because somewhere along a lonely road, kindness had finally found its way back to her.